like for me personally, I just needed to stop looking at what I'm doing and stop like beating myself up and overthinking everything and just start doing stuff.
Welcome back, everyone, to episode number 2 of the Johnny Rogers Show. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back with another episode. My guest today is none other than Phatriik Day, aka Phatriik. We've been good friends for a really long time. Like I'm talking, I think we were like 15 when we started hanging out. We went to high school together. And Phatriik has always been there. He's always been a good friend. If you watch me on Inform Overload or you saw me on Top to Nerd, Phatriik was also on Top to Nerd at one time. We talked about that in the episode. Today's episode, we're focusing on changes. I've also been, if you watch the first episode, you'll know I've talked about some of the changes that were happening in my life, like moving to Ottawa, for example. But Phatriik, I mean, the little changes that I had to make in my life, nothing compared to what this guy had to go through. I mean, he went through it. And he went through it in silence, which I don't know, I admire. I don't know. He told me everything that was going on, but it's not like he was posting to social media every day telling everybody what was up and what he was going through. But he was going through a lot. So we talk about everything about that, mostly regarding his health and whatnot. So it was really insightful podcast. I like getting Pat going on rants. Usually when we're hanging out, I'll do the same thing. We'll ask him a question and then I'll just let him go. Pat, by the way, is a master video game. I don't want to call it a connoisseur of sorts. We used to do Pothead Gamers together as well. You can go check out that. We'll link that in the description as well. There's a few episodes on there. Different cities now, so it makes that podcast harder to film, obviously. But no, I was super happy to have him on for today's episode to talk about all of those things. Where was I going with that? Yeah, video game connoisseur. That's where I was going with that. He's running a Twitch channel, so go check out his Twitch as well. That will be in the description link down below. I love listening to Pat specifically talk about video games because when he likes a video game, he zeroes in on it and he can explain it to you in layman's term. You know what I mean? Like if you've never played the video game, even if you don't like video games, I've watched people get interested in video games just from listening to him talk about it, his passion in how he talks about it. So definitely go follow him because I know he wants to start a gaming news channel soon. And maybe this will be the motivation if some of you guys go over and check him out. But I think you're really going to enjoy today's episode. As always, don't forget to leave us a comment down below with what you like from today's episode. Because we appreciate that stuff. Engagement always helps. But without any further delay, let's get right into my conversation about changes with Phatriik. If I somehow forget to mention it in the intro to everyone watching, this is Phatriik, aka Phatriik Day, Phatriik by night and online. We did Pothead Gamers together. You're also on you were on Top 10 Nerd, and then you also have new shit going on right now. You've been doing streams.
Yeah,
Because the one time I tried to, you were like, "Oh, I can't. I'm streaming," and I'm like, "Okay, I understand." I was like, "Go with the stream."
Yeah, I told myself I would stream like Tuesdays and Thursdays and try to keep consistent with it, but I've actually been doing a lot more days than that. Like most evenings I hop on there and I play Fortnite or something else with Steph usually. It's funny, I never thought I would be into it, but I'm actually playing Fortnite quite a lot now. It's very addictive.
I knew you'd gravitate to it just because there's that added, it's like all of the fun of combat. And then there's that added level of like, you need to be able to think quick on your feet to build the stuff in front of you.
Yeah.
Just so
Even
much.
just like the strategy of like positioning, trying to get the high ground and stuff like that. Like once you have a good squad and everybody's chatting on the mic, like it gets
And you
hype.
get high ground in that
Yeah.
fucking game. Like some of
Yeah.
those towers that build up, you're like,
Man.
Jesus, how high is it gonna go?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I blew up this guy's tower the other day and it's so satisfying watching all the little pieces one by one break apart.
Yeah, it's pretty sick.
Like, yes. But yeah, it's pretty cool. I was kind of like resisting it at first. Mostly Steph was playing it, but then I'd be like watching her and I'd be like, yeah, maybe I'll hop on and play with you. Like it's funny because I told myself like I got this sweet gaming PC and I got a whole bunch of sick games and I'm just playing Fortnite all the time, and it's ridiculous. Like I didn't buy this fancy machine to play this
Yeah,
game I could play on my phone. Like
yeah. That's
it's
how
pretty
you know.
funny.
That's how you know though. But you switched over, you've gone completely PC. You're not gonna get the PS5, you think?
I don't think so. Like not anytime soon, anyways. It seems like a lot of console exclusives are coming to PC now, anyways. They got like God of War for PC in the works right now, and the way that they're releasing the PS5 and making it so hard to get one, I'm just like, you know what? Screw it. I don't need it.
Yeah,
I've
that's
got
true.
like a laundry list of games I want to finish on the PS4, but
Yeah.
other than that, like I've got so many games on Steam, and I love the PC setup. Like I got my camera, my microphone, everything I need right here. The PlayStation controller works with the PC. I got
Oh
everything
yeah,
hooked
that
up.
just
Like
adds to how easy it is,
awesome.
right?
Yeah, it's dope too. Like, I've got a keyboard right here for like chatting and stuff. I can just alt tab over to OBS and make adjustments. So like when I'm streaming, it's easy to like change the screen up and stuff.
Oh,
It's
speaking
sick.
of, I can share that right now. Everybody go check out Phatriik on Twitch,
Yeah.
twitch.tv/Phatriik. We'll do
That's
promo shout outs in the beginning when people are watching. Everyone always
nice.
waits
Yeah.
until the end. It's like, no, 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 no. Go follow him right now, at least.
Patrick with two eyes.
2 eyes there. Yeah. I had that ready. I had that loaded. I'm
Nice.
not fucking around. I'm podcasting and getting
Proper. He's
real.
the podcasting experience.
Yeah. I'm like, I have all the equipment. I need to just do it. That's like the biggest thing. Uh all for everything, right? Is people always just they just don't execute on the idea that they have.
Absolutely. That's like something I'm struggling with like I got this concept for this gaming news show, and I've like fleshed it out exactly how I want to do it. I just need to like sit down and film an episode, and it's just like I don't know if I know actually that I'm just putting it off, but I don't really know why I keep putting it
Mm,
off. It's because it's like I know exactly what I want to do. And it's funny because on the flip side of that, you go to a place like Top 10 Nerd and you just sit down and execute. You write the script, you go in and you just do it. But when it's all self-driven, it's so easy to just be like, oh, geez.
yeah. Is this the
Uh,
right thing to do, or is this how long should it be? You get all caught up in like the semantics of everything.
yeah, and it's like you said, it's better to just start executing, right? Like the only way to figure it out is by doing.
Yeah, no, 100%. I'm actually, hold on one second. I'm gonna switch my headphones here. These things are just such a pain in the ass.
Are they like cutting out like one
It's just
ear?
cutting out repeatedly. Yeah. Un
That's it.
momento. Oh yeah, that sounds a lot better.
Nice.
All right, sick. Woo. Can actually hear it clearly. It would just be like muffled for a second, then it would cut back and forth, and I was like, "Oh, what the hell?"
Trying to like guess based on what you
Yeah.
heard.
I was trying to have it plugged in because that way I could hear the actual volume of my microphone, but I feel like it'll be fine as long as I'm not screaming, which I don't think will be
No, it sounds great on my end.
screaming too much. All right. I guess you'll be my barometer. You'll be like, hey man, keep it down.
Yeah. Like, whoa, gee, jeez.
Hey, yeah, Jesus. You're fucking blowing out my ears right now.
I got my I got these desktop speakers and then a microphone, and I was always worried about like echo. I was worried about it for this call, and I was worried about it for my stream, but I listened back to my stream and it sounds fine, and it's crazy. Like I'm playing Fortnite, there's like explosions and stuff happening, and I guess it's because the speakers are behind the microphone. It just maybe the
Doesn't
audio.
pick it up.
Yeah, it sounds great. I'm always surprised. I
Interesting.
like open my stream on my phone just to see like, oh man, I don't know if I got the settings right. Let me listen to it, and it's like, oh wow, that sounds great. Like I had this guy tell me the other day, he's like, oh, your stream looks really professional. I was like, oh, I have no idea what I'm doing, so thanks, bro. Like,
You're like, I appreciate that. I
yeah,
feel
I'm
like
glad
that's
you.
everyone though.
Yeah, right.
I'm like, if you really ask people, like, do you know what you're doing? They'd be like, fuck, I don't
Yeah,
fucking
it's like we're all
know.
just figuring it out
We're
as
all
we
just
go.
kind of guessing and stumbling through shit as we go along.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, like I was saying, the changes shit is what I really wanted to like get down to is like you talking about all of these like huge, massive changes that you had to make in terms of your health this like past year, just
right.
how that's affected your day to day and like, do you wish you did it sooner? Is there, maybe some advice that you can offer to people who are kind of going through stuff that's similar to that?
Right. Yeah. Um, Man, yeah, it's definitely been, I think for a lot of people, there's been a lot of big changes for ever since the whole COVID thing happened. But yeah, I mean, when COVID first hit, I was really struggling with like my health and stuff. I had like this problem with my nose. It was just like it would close up at the back and I get like pressure in my ear and my eyes would be watering and stuff. And that was something that like I think was the result of like I had really bad like teeth problems and I got a bunch of work done. And I feel like because of that, it like set off some other problem. But anyway, this was something that was bothering me like every day to the point I'd have to be like lying down during the middle of the day just to relieve some of the pressure. And I ended up like having to step away from the job at Top 10 Nerd. That made me quit working at Starbucks during COVID. COVID also
Mm.
made me kind of not want to go back anyways because it
Yeah,
was
you're
so
like,
crazy now. And man, it's just like, in terms of advice, like anybody that's watching this, like pay attention to your health because the things that you maybe think are not so serious, they'll just keep getting worse if you're ignoring them, or even if you maybe think that you have it under control. Like, never going to regret a trip to the doctor, and like it's so easy to just Google your symptoms and be like, oh yeah, it's probably that. But
probably
it's like
cancer.
that's not even a solution, right? You're just like
No.
trying to reassure yourself. And I feel like that's something I did so much throughout my 20s. It was just like ignoring all of these health problems. And I'm just in such a better place now. Like, I took some time off work and just started focusing on my health. I changed my diet and started exercising. I was like doing all these things, like trying to cut out like sugar, cut out dairy, anything to like help reduce mucus because I thought that that would help.
Hmm.
And I even just recently I stopped drinking almond milk because it was like making me bloated. And it was something that like, I had to like pay attention to what are the things that I'm doing throughout the day to understand why I'm not feeling good, and it's so easy
Yeah.
to just be too busy to even stop and look at those things. So yeah, it's crazy, a lot of big changes in my life and for the better, I think most of them. It's really important, I think, to embrace change when it comes along, whether it's like a bad change, like you lost your job, or a bad health problem, or like a good change. There's always some opportunity in it either way, right? But yeah, it's been a crazy time. Like, and now that I started doing all of this stuff, and I had this health scare, I had my appendix out too. I had like my appendix almost burst. I was in a whole bunch of pain, and that was really scary for me. It kind of made me realize like everything, like, life is short, you're gonna die, like just do whatever you want to do, have a good time, stop worrying about people judging you and everything. And that's why I've been like starting to create content, share things online, and just try to have fun. I kind of started to realize like being online and making content, it's not just about like clout chasing, it's like celebrating your life. Like, we're in just being ourselves and enjoying our stuff. You used to go to your buddy's house and talk about the game that you're playing.
Yeah.
Now you can just go do that on the internet and connect with this whole community. Like, I've started to get a response from people on Instagram and have some people watching my streams and chatting with me. And it's like you're making new friends, even though it's only on the internet. Like, it's still cool. So it's,
And it's all getting archived too, right? Like all of these like
yeah.
conversations, all the photos that you post, all the videos that you post. It's more
And it's
so
great
like
to be able to
for
look
that.
back on it too.
Yeah, right. Like seeing those like memories pop up on Facebook where you're like, whoa, that was from so
Yo,
long ago. They'll show you photos you didn't even remember you had. You're like,
yeah. Even gaming stuff. Like, I've got during COVID, I was playing like Red Dead Online a whole bunch with Steph, and we had this whole community going. And so I've got a whole collection of photos from that, like 2,000 photos and a bunch of funny videos, and stuff from Animal Crossing. Like, I'm gonna start sharing some of that stuff online because we like did a little band, and we were putting on little shows and stuff and having people come to the island. Like, it was hilarious and it was so much fun. And the whole time that I was doing it, I was kind of in a bad place. And I always kind of thought, oh, this is it. Like, I should be sharing this online. I should be live streaming this. And I just wasn't doing it. And even that line of thinking was like depressing me. And now I'm
mm,
doing it. And even if I'm doing it poorly, it doesn't matter because you feel like, oh, I'm getting something
yeah,
done. Like, I'm actually making the effort. I'm connecting with people. And it's, man, it's so important to not like, the worst thing you can do is have an idea and be like, oh, that'd be cool. Fuck it. like that sucks. That feels so crappy, you know. It's like, hey, at least if you take an effort on it and then you don't really like it, it's like, hey, whatever, you know, I gave it a shot. Like, you know, you ask like old people, what do you regret? Or like, if you could change your life, it's always, I wish I did this, I wish I did that. It's not like, oh, I shouldn't have went to college. It's always like, oh, I all these missed opportunities, you know, like
Yeah.
you saw somebody with a cool shirt and you're like, I should have told him that his shirt was cool. Like, just do it. It's always worth it. Like, that's
Yeah.
that's a pretty good summation of the changes that have been happening with
Only
me, I
do it
think.
if it's good, though. Don't be
Yeah,
just
yeah, only if
doing
it
stuff,
feels
hateful
right.
shit, because you're like, you know what? He's right.
Yeah,
We only have a limited time. You
yeah, yeah,
suck.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's like YOLO doesn't mean jump off a building, but it, you know,
yeah,
it
yeah.
means like
Just
you
take every
shouldn't be
opportunity.
afraid. Yeah, yeah, for sure. Because it's a, you know, like it's just like I was saying, like that's the only way to figure out if of an idea is viable, right? Is to just start doing it.
Yeah.
That's funny, like with the streaming thing, I never thought that I would enjoy it. I never thought I would be comfortable. I always figured like, oh, I'd be so awkward, like and insecure. People will come on and talk shit in the chat and stuff. And it's like, no, like actually the worst thing that happens is nobody shows up. And it's like,
Yeah.
oh, whatever. Like I'm gonna play this game anyway. So like you might as well just try to connect with people. It's nice.
Now, like when you decide to change a bad habit, we all experience that form of resistance deep within. It's not even a vocal thing. It's like a thing that takes over your body that doesn't want to do the thing that you're supposed to do, but there's that conscious part of you that's telling you, no, you got to do this thing.
Yeah.
What do you typically like lean on or use to like get past that or get over that like little bit of resistance?
Yeah, I mean that resistance thing really is a problem. And there's like another element to it too, which is like a lot of us have this inner voice that we maybe try not to listen to that says like, oh, that's a bad idea. This is stupid. Like oh, people are going to laugh at you or whatever. And it's like we know that that voice isn't really true or whatever, but it still totally affects you. And I think that it's so part of it is you got to kind of take that in stride and be aware of that voice, but also recognize that that voice is really just a, a summation of your lived experiences and like the things that your parents taught you or things that you learned in school or from TV. Like you as you are is separate from that, right? You can be
Hmm.
whatever you want, you can do whatever you want. And I think that just even that is something that really helps me. Like I remind myself all the time, like every day is a new day. Like if I start a routine of exercising and then I don't do it for like 4 days straight, it's not like, oh man, I totally screwed up, like I suck, I'm right back where I started. It's like, no, I've exercised more this year than I ever have in any previous year. And so it's like you gotta kind of build up those small wins and just start over. You know, I read this book, Atomic Habits, and there was a part in the book where he says like if you don't do a habit for one day, that's the beginning of a new habit, the habit of not doing the thing. And so as long as you get back on the horse, so to speak, the next day, then it's fine. So that's kind of been the thing for me is like for me personally, I just needed to stop looking at what I'm doing and stop like beating myself up and overthinking everything and just start doing stuff, you know, like I'm like doing a little bit of exercising once in a while and I'm not like seeing any big results or anything, but I feel better. And like when I look at how things have changed for me as of like 2 years ago, like I don't smoke cigarettes anymore, like I eat more healthily, like I'm like like connecting with people more than I ever have, and I'm feeling a lot less self-judgment now, and I'm feeling a lot more happier about myself,
Mm.
and not like in a toxic like cocky way, like I used to feel kind of like egotistical, but that also came with this sense of like I know that I suck though. Now it's like, hey, you know what, I know that I'm doing
Yeah,
my best. So
yeah.
like
I
it's like you don't want to be your own enemy. You really have to like root for yourself. And what do they say, like nurture the inner child and stuff,
yeah,
you know, you got to
yeah,
tell
yeah.
yourself like, you know, I made an effort, like I should feel good. I think that's like key to getting over those struggles and pushing through like a challenging time, is to just like remember that like you can handle it and that like you're going to be better off afterwards. Like, we don't, like, you're not going to get dumber. You're not going to get less experienced. Like, as life goes on, you're just going to be more equipped to handle stuff. It's like every new situation that's challenging in 6 months or a year, you're now going to be able to handle those kind of situations so much better. It's almost like trial by fire is like really good for you because you'll just grow quickly, like quitting smoking sucked. And it was one of the things that I thought I had to do to help fix this nose problem. And it didn't even fix it. Like, after having quit smoking, months and months went by and I still had the problem. And I remember going to my doctor one time and being like, I don't
You
feel like I'm
bitch.
getting better. Like I'm not, none of this is working.
Yeah.
It kind of gave me like a reality check, and I realized like, oh wow, like, yeah, things are actually like marginally improving, and you just have to keep making those small incremental improvements, and before you know it, you're like so much better than you were before. But the problem of having problems never goes away. There's always
Oh
a new
yeah.
thing, because the way that we orient ourselves in the world is we look at whatever problem we have right now to deal with. The other stuff, it's already fixed, so we're not even worrying about it anymore. And it's like, you got to recognize what you're in right now is going to be that in the future,
Yeah.
and that's fine. It's so weird to think about it that way when I look at who I was before, and I used to like be so worried about everything. It's like, all you have to worry about is eat a meal later, go to the bathroom, sleep,
Yeah.
do it again
You
tomorrow.
really
Like,
have nothing to
yeah.
worry about. Yeah.
And it's like, and when you think about it in that way, it's like you can handle whatever awful thing you have to do today for an hour. Like, it's not so bad.
Yeah.
And I think that's I'm always trying to remind myself of that. Like, it's really it's not worth getting so stressed and getting so worked up, because then you're not even functioning properly anyways. And that was me when my problems were really bad. I'd be like in bed most of the day, like all I really did was read and stuff. And it's like, for so long I was just like, I want to be better. Like, I want to feel better. And I realized, like, I have to do it. Like, my doctor
Mm.
isn't going to just make me healthy. Like, I started doing stretches every day, and even just like exercising, stretching out my neck and my shoulders, like, helped to relieve some of the pressure. And as
Yeah.
soon as I started to get just the tiniest bit of progress with that, I was like, oh my God, there's something that I can grab onto and do that makes me feel better. Like, so I just started leaning right into that.
Yeah. I
And
think
that
it's like about creating new routines, right? Like
totally, yeah.
in any time you're changing a habit, you have to not just look at it as like, oh, I can't do that thing anymore. You almost have to be like, as part of my new life, my new routine, this just doesn't fit into it. I don't have time for that,
Yeah.
especially if it's something to do with your health too, right?
Yeah. I like literally on paper drew up a routine for the morning and a routine for the evening for like how I like prepare for bed, so that I don't forget any of the steps of like brushing my teeth and moisturizing my feet and like shit like that. And it just like,
Yeah.
all of those are little things that they have this compound interest. You
Yeah.
just feel so much better. And
Shave
if you
off my bunion.
yeah, right. Get a little pocket knife out and start carving away.
Yeah.
But seriously, like, it's crazy what a difference it makes. Even just those little things, the routines is really key. I feel like anything can be achieved if you just break it down into those simple steps, right? That's like the principles of like goal setting and everything. Like, you turn it down and you just break it down into these tiny little steps, and then you realize like, oh, you can do whatever. Like, if you wanted to achieve 100 push-ups in one sitting, like, it's like you just keep working towards that.
Yeah, just do as many as you can each day, right? And then
Yeah,
they
and
keep
then
stacking on top of each
one day you
other.
do so many, you're like, oh my God, like. And then it's funny because eventually that achievement that meant so much to you that day is nothing in like 6 months, because you've just improved so much more. So I think perspective is another really big thing, is recognize that your problems are temporary. It's really interesting. Like, I think a lot of people, when they have change in their life, you feel like you're like falling apart, but again, you
Mm.
kind of are. But like, it's for the better. You're gonna come
It's
out the other side
pressure
a
that
better
you need
person.
almost.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I
There's
think
like
without.
I was gonna say, speaking of like pressure, another thing too is when people are trying to change things in their life, they're also often met with pressure from like family or like friends or like close loved ones sometimes even too. Like obviously you're not gonna expose your family, but it's like from your experience, do you have any advice for people that might be facing something similar like that?
Uh, I think that when I quit smoking, I found like anytime I was hanging out with somebody that smoked, it was really easy to feel like, oh, that'd be nice. Like, I could just have one. And I feel like when that started to happen, I'd made enough progress that it was easy for me to be like, no, no, that's a bad idea. But yeah, that influence thing can really be it can be good or it can be bad. Like, I live with my girlfriend Steph, and when I started to try to change my diet to help with this nose thing, she did it with me. So we both were doing this elimination diet, and that made it a lot easier. I think it would be really difficult if Steph was like eating McDonald's every couple of days
Yeah,
and I
yeah,
had to like
yeah.
see that. And it's the same thing with, like, I was talking about Fortnite earlier. I probably never would have got into Fortnite if Steph wasn't playing it so much. So I think the best thing that you can do is just be aware that those influences exist and try to make changes regarding that type of stuff. Like, there's like some friends that I just kind of stopped hanging out with altogether because either they made me feel like I wanted to like smoke and stuff, or maybe they like were not so good for my mental health. And those kind of things are like, they're not easy to deal with. There are some situations where like it's like, oh man, how am I going to explain this? But it's like, you don't have to, like, you just do whatever's best for you. It's tricky to maneuver all these situations because we all feel like we have these um what would you call it, we all kind of feel like we have these obligations to our family and to our friends and all this stuff, and we
To
do.
never hurt their feelings.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And there is an obligation there. If you
Yeah,
get a message
yeah.
from your mom, like, you should answer.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
it's also not like you don't need to answer right now. If you're struggling, if you have some shit going on, like, deal with your shit, but make sure you also, like, respond to the people who are trying to help you and stay away from the people who are maybe influencing you in a negative way. And that's
Mm,
a lot easier to say than it is to do. Like, you can't just cut somebody out of your life. A lot of people don't really take that too well. They're going to like message you and be like, what the hell and stuff. And as far as advice for that, I mean, it's kind of like, is there any advice? It's kind of like, you just deal with it. You just
yeah.
it's like a tough situation. Like, when you're going to get in trouble on Monday, when you come into work, your boss is going to give you shit for something that you did on Friday. It's like, what are you going to do? Like, skip work? Like, you
Just to
just
avoid
deal
it. Yeah, yeah,
deal with
yeah.
it, and then it's done, right? Like, it sucks, but that's the best thing you can do, is just kind of just face it, right? Like, if it's a negative influence or it's a positive influence, you kind of just got to face it and be done with it. Like with the
I think
Fortnite thing, I hated it. I hated the game, and it
yeah,
always
yeah,
made me mad. But then I could realize, like, maybe it's the way that I'm thinking about it. If I go into the game just trying to have fun, so I started doing that, and then I started enjoying it more. I'm just trying to like finish the quests in the game and like upgrade my battle pass or whatever. But at first it was like anything less than a win was just like, oh god damn it, like these tryhards. And
yeah.
it's so funny, like, so mentality is everything, right?
That's how I go into movies. I don't watch the preview and I go in with low expectations and I always have a good time.
Yeah. It's almost like a requirement nowadays, because so
Yeah.
much stuff is just uh like totally lowbrow. Like, I was really, really disappointed with the new Spider-Man movies, but maybe that was
Uh,
just my expectation.
yeah, and
I
you're not watching it through the same lens as like kids now watching it. Like to
Yeah,
them,
right.
that's their Spider-Man.
And I've got all this baggage, like it's like, okay,
Yeah,
don't ruin the what I already love. If you don't have an influence, like
yeah,
the first Star Wars movie I saw was actually episode 3, and I went to the theater with my mom. Like, you want to see Star Wars? Like, I thought that was for nerds, like when I was a kid,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah,
And I
yeah.
loved it. I was blown away. And I think part of the reason is I didn't really have any like idea. I just knew like, oh, this is something that like is this big franchise that
Yeah.
people like. And so, it's like you're saying with the new Spider-Man movies, like it's kind of made to be like that too. And I think a lot of movies nowadays are they're trying to be something that can be mass produced, that's easily palatable. They're not trying to handle any delicate like political issues or whatever. They just
They
want you to
wanted to be able to translate to
the Walmart
Mandarin and
crowd.
Cantonese.
Yeah.
They
They
mass
just want,
produce it in China.
what do they say? Just turn your brain off and have a good time, you know? I see that
That's
all the
every
time on
Marvel
movie
movie.
reviews, and it's just like, no, I don't want that. Like, I
You're
want to
like,
be
make me
challenged.
think, god damn it.
Yeah. But
You've got
that's
my
just,
attention for 2 hours and this is what you're doing with it.
yeah. And that's the weird thing, is like, you kind of have to go into it like that. Like, just open books, see what it is. Like when you and me did a Fortnite video for Potted Gamers, like, we just
Just
kind of
fill
went in
up if you want
blind.
to go watch that.
Yeah, it's a good one, a lot of
Good
fun.
episode.
We went in there just like, hey, let's have fun, right? Let's just play
Yeah,
the
I
game and
think I
have some
played it
fun.
like a couple times, maybe.
Just to see, right? It's
Just to
not like you
see,
knew.
yeah. Because I'm like, if we're gonna
Yeah,
play it on the show, I should get an idea of like what we're getting into.
yeah. And
Yeah.
that's the thing. Like, you got to just have fun with it, like, I think it's so easy to, in our culture now, it's so easy to just be like, they didn't get it right. And
Yeah.
it's like, that doesn't serve you very much. It just makes you upset. Like, I was like really unhappy with that Spider-Man movie after it was over, and I had to like come to terms with it. And it's just funny because it's like, whatever, who cares? Like, even if it sucked, like, it doesn't ruin anything that came before. There's still all these comics to read. And it's
Yeah,
like,
they're not
you
like
just
burn the prior ones.
yeah. Like, you got to just do what you enjoy and stay away from what you don't enjoy. Like, it's the same thing as before, like with the influences, the people, like hanging out with you makes me feel good and makes me excited about creating more projects and everything. So we hang out,
Yeah.
and it's like, there's other stuff, like, I can't think of a good example, but stuff that I hate, I just don't do it. Like, and I think like that's so important. Like, it's easy to just sit down at the end of a work day and throw on the TV and just put on some bullshit and then be
Yeah.
on your phone and ignore the show the whole time. And it's like, if you take a little time to think about something that's actually going to appeal to you and watch it and enjoy it, that's like, you've enriched your life now, instead of just kind of like coasting through to the next day. Because you play that out over a long period of time and you're just bummed. But
Yeah.
like how I feel now, like, I bought a Nintendo DS. I started playing all these retro games and stuff. I started making content online, sharing more, getting more involved with gaming community at large. And
Yeah.
I'm more excited about my life now. Like, I'm in my niche and enjoying what I
Yeah.
like.
That's the key, man, is finding that thing where you just feel like so passionate about it. Whatever that idea is that someone
Mhm.
has, the
As
more
long as it
time you
like,
spend thinking about it, even you get all like jazzed up about it. It
yeah,
makes
yeah.
your day
Even as soon as
great.
you start talking about it, like, as soon as
Yeah.
I start talking about video games, I get like all jazzed. But the
Yeah.
thing is, it has to be something that's good for you too. I feel like a lot of people online now, they have like chosen a hill to die on, and they've picked like a fight to be angry about. They make a page like
Yeah.
on Twitter that's like the feminism communist or something, and all of their content is like this angry finger wagging, like, this person is wrong and let's cancel this
Yeah.
person. And it's like,
Yeah.
I don't think that's going to make you feel good. Like,
Yeah.
that's not to say that that's not important, but I think that you need to like build your thing that makes you feel good and happy about your life
Yeah.
as like a foundation. And then when you have these struggles and stuff like that, you have this thing that's like yours that you can look forward to. Like, I was gaming so much when I was having all these problems and it wasn't helping, right? And now I try to stick my gaming to like 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. It's this thing that I look forward to doing in the evening, and that sets my day up. Like, if I'm having a tough time, I have to make some annoying phone call or deal with some bullshit, I'm just like, you know what? In a couple hours, I'm going to be playing Rocket League,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
going to be
Exactly.
smashing goals home and just feeling good. And it's just
Yeah.
like, man, I like share like a video of my dinner on my Instagram story because I'm
Yeah.
excited about it. Like, and it's so funny. These little things, they make up your life, even like we talked about the routines in the morning and the
Yeah.
evening. Like, I ironed those out on paper. Like, like I brush my teeth and then I moisturize and then I do this and then I do that. And
Uh,
I have the paper like posted in the
yeah,
bathroom.
yeah.
And
Dude.
now it's just like it's a solid routine. I do it every day. And the results of that, like I feel them, I'm like soft.
That's so funny. I was gonna say one of the keys to like a long life is to fill it with like um memorable moments, essentially, because the way
Yeah.
that we view time is we look at time like, oh, this happened after I got out of college, or this happened before I went to high school, and it's always these like big key moments, so that the more of those that there are, your life will just feel longer.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
totally.
Because time is just like a subjective thing. Like the clock itself and calendar was all made by humans. It's not like it's a universal galactic thing.
Yeah, yeah. That's just like how we measure it, right? Like
Yeah,
I was mm, got this calendar where I like check off every time a week has passed. And I did that today because it's Monday. And I was like, man, that last week went by really fast. And it's literally what you're talking about, because not very much happened until like, the day before and the day of Halloween. We were like, we like got some candy and played Luigi's Mansion, and like I had some
yeah.
really fun interactions with people online and was streaming and stuff. But it's like, oh man, it feels like it went by so fast, and it's because I really didn't do that much.
Isn't
And
that
it's
crazy though? Because like you
yeah,
would like that whole week, you don't even remember any details, but
just like a couple of key moments.
Halloween night, you remember everything. I had all
Yeah,
these amazing interactions. Like I ate this.
totally.
Like
It's like I could tell you what I did last Christmas, but I couldn't tell you
yeah,
what I was doing December 12th last year. Like
yeah, yeah.
some bullshit probably.
Yeah, it's like the week just starts to blend in together. It's insane.
That's the funny thing about like these routines and stuff, even, like if you build a routine of like exercising 2 times a week, and then when you do that, you listen to podcasts that are really interesting to you.
Like the Johnny Rogers
That
show. Make sure
totally,
you
yeah.
rate it 5 star on iTunes.
Wherever you get your
Sorry.
podcast, it's like that's more like enriching for your life. Like even back when I worked at Starbucks, I would at the end of my shifts in the morning, I would have to go to the basement and like pull stuff from the freezer, like food for the next day. And when I did that, I would listen to podcasts. I used to just listen to music, but I started listening to gaming podcasts where these guys would talk about different games that were going to be released, or like retro games that they really loved from when they were a kid. And they'd be talking about like games that I played when I grew up, and I'd be like, oh yo, that game was sick, like, oh, I totally agree with what this one guy is saying. And like I remember that today, because like all I was doing was this monotonous work of taking stuff out of the freezer.
Yeah.
But like you can make all of these little moments of your life more enriching. Like I usually have a book by my bed now, so I'll read for a little bit before I go to sleep. So I've got like this ongoing story, and all these little things, they add up to like a great life. Like you just have you don't have to always have a good day. You can change the day. Like it could start out really crappy, and then you could have a nice dinner and hang out, watch a movie. Or you could have a day that starts out really great and then turns crappy. And it's so much of it is like your mentality. And it's crazy like how much that like seems like a cliche, but everything kind of that is wisdom always seems like a cliche.
Yeah,
It's so weird.
yeah. I always say too, like if it's a cliche, then it's probably true. It's been said that many
Yeah, right.
times. So they're just trying to
There's
pass
obviously
the
something
information.
there.
Yeah, yeah, there must be something to it.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. It's definitely it's great though. I feel like I've grown more in the past couple of years than I did from like age 20 to age 26. Like, because I was just doing the same thing all the time, like just
Mm.
working and trying to save some money and gaming and smoking weed all the time. And it's not like it sucked, but like I'm way better now. And I feel like even just in the past couple of years, like even just in the past year, I've read so many books. I've exercised more than I ever have. I feel like a completely different person, and
New
it's
lease on life.
it's yeah, it's crazy because it's like you think about it, it's like, oh, when did all this start? And it started when everything went to shit, and I was like miserable and I felt like crap all the time. And it's just crazy to think like that's what it took. It took things getting really bad for me to be like, okay, I'm going to fix this, and then I'm going to fix that. Like when I was trying to quit smoking, I didn't even think about exercising. You know, it was like, fuck that. But I kind of knew that that's where this is headed. Eventually I was going to be doing that. And, you know, it's funny because eventually I'll be working on something else. You know, I'll be like making videos or writing a book or some shit. And I'll be like, man, remember when I was trying to get myself to work out and I kept quitting and I would only do it once a week sometimes. And you're like, oh, look at me now. And then 6 months
Yeah,
later, it's like, it's not even a big deal. It's just like brushing your teeth. You know, people
exactly.
look at like transformations on the internet or like guys who got all jacked. And it's like, oh, well, you know, he's just like addicted to steroids or whatever. Like you always have this negative voice in your head. And it's like, you could do it. You could do whatever if you really, really want to and start applying yourself.
And instead of typing on that keyboard, you would just be going out and doing that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like that's a problem too, is a lot of people just want to be there to comment or whatever.
Yeah.
Nobody's like actually taking control of their own
Yeah.
life.
And it's like a cultural thing, really, you know, because we come from like, we grew up doing what? We went to school, and in school, you sit in the classroom and you don't want to be called on by the teacher. And then you go home, you watch TV and you talk shit about the people on the TV. A lot of the stuff
Yeah.
you watch is reality too. So you're like pointing fingers, oh, look at these idiots. And that's what everyone does on social media now. But the best people, they're on social media spreading love and spreading joy and being positive and like uplifting other people. You know, you don't see guys like Gary Vee or The Rock or even smaller influencers. They're not on there like trashing everybody and
Yeah.
like you know, it's because it doesn't have like a net score that comes back
Yeah.
to you. It's just like,
That's another big social media change that you have to make too, I think, is like if you're making changes in your life, you need to, no matter what that change is, like go through your social media and get rid of the shit that makes you feel bad. Cause
yeah,
that's the last thing you need. If you like are trying to get fit, let's say, and you had to work late and you miss going to the gym, and then you, while you're eating dinner, flip open your phone and you see someone on your phone and you're like, fuck, why didn't I go to the gym today? This person's at the gym.
yeah,
Just hide post, do whatever you need to do, mute
totally.
posts,
Man,
unfollow.
when I was like really feeling unhealthy and I was like having all this pressure in my face and I would lay down all the time, a lot of times I'd be on my phone because it was like I would just go lay down for like 20 minutes or so to relieve the pressure in
Mm,
my face. And then I would come back to whatever I was doing. And during those 20 minutes or whatever, I'd just be scrolling Instagram and stuff. And because I was doing that like so many times a day, I I was in a bad place mentally to begin with, but I came across a lot of content that was like triggering and upsetting and frustrating and comment sections where people were being all toxic. And I like purged my shit. There were so many pages I unfollowed and other pages that I started following. And now my feed is just full of like fun, uplifting stuff and like inspirational stuff. And it's so funny. Like, you know, a lot of us we have this instinct to like set people straight when they say shit that's like stupid or
yeah.
disagreeable. And it's like, you don't know everything. You know, there's people on the internet that have like crazy views on the world. And whether you think they're right or not, that's your opinion. And it's not worth it to go on there and try to fix this person that you've never met. Like
Yeah.
it's like, just fuck it, just unfollow, just you know, unplug,
Yeah.
read a friggin' book, you know, like seriously though, it won't
Read a
upset
freaking
you.
book. No, it's not gonna. And if it does, I don't know what to
And
tell
read a
you.
different one, like
Put it down and get a different. Why did you buy that
yeah,
book? It's in your
man, it's
house.
good.
Why did you buy it?
It's crazy. It's true. It's like they talk about that idea of living in your head rent free. Like
Oh
you
yeah.
got stuff living in your feed. Like you don't have to be following your uncle on Facebook who posts like racist stuff. Like
Yeah, just
you can even choose to hide his posts and
yeah.
not even unfollow. Like
That's
it's for
probably
your
for the
own
best.
mental health. Like it's worth it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh man,
'Cause
that's got to be the hardest.
those little
Jesus.
things, they influence your mood. You find yourself all frustrated, and then you take it out on like the cashier in the grocery store. And if you really sit down and think about it, you're like, when did this bad mood start? And it's like, oh, it's when I was arguing with that jackass on Instagram. And it's like, why did I even bother? And
Yeah.
it's like,
And then you're yelling at somebody in traffic, and then it's like, it just carries on.
yeah. And it's like, part of you wants to deal with it in the moment, like, oh, let me message this person, but it's not gonna give you the like catharsis that you want, that's gonna just make you
Yeah.
feel like, ah, yes. Like, even
Even
if you're
if you think
right.
it will. Yeah, even if
Yeah,
you're right, it's better to not type anything.
totally. And it's funny because we got to a point now where you come across content online that's made to trigger you into putting a comment, and it's just like, no, like, click the corner, hide
I'm
this
good.
post. Like, all
Yeah.
the time I'm just like, no, thank you, I don't want to see this, I don't want to have this discussion. Like, I used to follow all kinds of web comic artists that share funny comics, and they always tend to get like political, and not in like a bad way, like, oh, like, like anti-abortion or some weird thing like that. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
it's always like, instead of posting a funny comic, they've posted a comic that says, look how dumb these people are. And then everyone in the comments is arguing. And it's like, hey, I understand that you need to drive traffic to your page, and
Yeah.
getting all these comments is helpful. But for me as an individual, when I see that post and then I see all that argument, that's just upsetting. And I don't need it. So I've unfollowed so many of these comics that used to bring me joy and help me through a
Yeah.
struggling time. They're now upsetting. And so I unfollow them. And it's crazy. Like, I used to follow like these like spiritualism pages, and some of them, they get so like anti-establishment that I'm like, whoa,
Yeah.
like, you're not promoting like a balanced worldview anymore. You want me to be angry with you. I don't want to be angry. So I just unfollow. And it's funny because it's like, oh, well, I'm not going to have any following. I'm not going to be following anybody if I keep this
Yeah.
up. But
At
no,
this
it's
point.
instead you end up with all positive stuff. And then you're scrolling, and you're laughing, and you're seeing cool stuff. You're sharing the funny memes with your friends, and it's great. It's like, you don't need the toxic element.
Yeah,
You
just
can
because it's there
still be
means
happy.
you don't have to engage with it just because it's there. You know what I mean?
Totally.
Like, just because those people exist on the internet doesn't mean you have to constantly be looking at that stuff.
Yeah, and when you push those things aside, other stuff will come along. That's the other cool thing. Like, when we played Red Dead Online, I was always meeting new people and adding them to the group, and some of them would be really toxic, and I would just get rid of them. And sometimes it felt like, oh, like, everybody we meet sucks. But then I think, well, no, there's this guy and there's this guy, and they're
Yeah.
cool. And as before you go through, before you know it, you're like culling the herd, and you're like, hey, I've got
Yeah.
like 12 cool people on there now, and there's always somebody online. And it's the same with like your following on Twitter, especially. Like, it can get so negative, and it's just like, if that's something that's affecting you mentally, you can choose to do something about it. You can follow other stuff. You can just you can even just
You can
not
use
use
that
it.
block
Like,
button.
sometimes, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
sometimes I
Just
just
take it
hop
off your
off
phone.
Instagram for a couple of days because it's just like,
There's lots of people that like to just post on like their computer or whatever. They'll just use like the browser, but they won't have it on their phone. I know tons of people that don't have any of the apps on your phone
it's
because
not
there's
a bad
something
idea.
like you just always want to check it. There's just this feeling of wanting to tap it and scroll and see what's going on.
Yeah, yeah. It's like you were saying once, it's like a slot machine. Like, you
Yeah,
literally, you
that's what
pull
they were saying
down,
in that
and all the posts go bling, bling,
documentary.
bling, bling.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's the same thing.
Crazy.
They worked on it to be like that. It's nuts.
Yeah, it's very strange when you look at the way that the algorithms work. They're trying so hard to just feed you anything that you're going to engage with, positive or negative. So if you go out of your way, you go to explore, and it's not even people you follow, and you see stuff that you don't like, and you comment, oh, this is so stupid, this, or where's the funny, and then you like the comments where people are trashing this person, you'll see more of that content because the algorithm is like, oh, you've engaged.
It's like,
Like,
oh,
they
you
don't care
like
if positive
that?
or negative. Yeah,
Have
like,
some
that's the thing.
more.
They don't care whether or not you're having a good time, as long as
No.
you're engaged. So it's
Yeah,
like, it's
yeah.
up to you, right? It's just like in school, like, you choose who to be friends with. And it's
Honestly, that's honestly the same thing I was gonna say with like in the same way that we're talking about unfollowing um pages on Instagram that used to bring you joy and no longer do, it works the same way with friends. Just because you're friends with someone
yeah,
from a certain time in your life to now doesn't mean that they always have to be your friend. Unfortunately, like there's just some people that were meant to serve a certain part in your life from like one point to another, and then you're just no longer supposed to like continue your journeys together.
Yeah, it's funny how that change happens too. Like even like I've had friends on Animal Crossing that look at this cute little game. There's no violence. You literally just go around and have little social experiences. We've had people that like turned out to be toxic. Like you thought they were okay, but then they started doing stuff that was really annoying, and your cool friends that were actually nice didn't like it. And you get to a point where it's like, well, am I going to lose the people that I really care about over these toxic people? It's the same as the Red Dead Online thing. And it's like, you don't owe anybody anything. You can unfriend people, you can unfollow stuff. And if that makes you feel guilty, that's a feeling that you should be dealing with, because it's not worth it. It's like if somebody leaves you on red and your first thought is like, oh my God, like, oh, I must have pissed them off. Like, oh geez, like, what did I say? What did I do? It's like, you're totally overthinking it. Maybe they're just busy. Like,
Yeah.
and it's so easy to do that to ourselves. Like we're so worried about being perfect, and the social media thing just amplifies that. And like nobody is perfect. It's fine, like look at all these celebrities who have been canceled or had really awful stuff happen in their life, and then they just bounce back.
Yeah, like
people
they're just
people
coming
forget
back,
everything's
no
fine.
problem.
Yeah,
A
and
few
so
people went to jail, but
some of them, but I mean,
the
people that get
majority.
canceled for like just
Yeah,
like saying some like,
yeah,
people dig
a
up like
tweet or
homophobic
whatever.
tweets from
Yeah,
5 years ago, and it's like
yeah.
the person has probably changed, like, and if they haven't, then just unfollow them. Like, what do you want them to be burned? Like,
You don't have to be engaged with every single thing that's on the internet. It just
yeah,
keeps being
you
that.
can't be anyways, right?
You can't. It's too much.
So you just like, the way I see it is just pick the stuff that you like. It's like I had to make myself
We're like,
stop.
embrace the echo chamber. That's
Yeah,
not what
yeah,
we're saying. That's not what we're saying.
yeah. No, it's more like,
Find something you're
don't get,
passionate about and involve yourself with that.
yeah, and like don't get stuck in those negative chambers, because
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
like years ago there was like this anti-feminism page I followed on Instagram that was always doing like liberal gets owned type videos and stuff, like,
Yeah.
and it's funny, right? But it's funny in like a bad way. It's funny in like a
You're like,
toxic
ooh, I'm
way.
not supposed to be watching this.
And it's also like, yeah, that person sucks. And it's just like, do you feel good after you watch that? Like, it's
Yeah,
better to
yeah.
watch like some stand-up comedy or something where they're gonna maybe send a similar message, but from like a good place. And
Yeah.
that's the funny thing, is like, there's so much content online. It's like, where does this come from? Like, it's like something that 11 talks about. Like, if your message comes from a good place, then it's probably going to be a better message, and people are going to be more receptive, than like, because otherwise you're just saying some bullshit, like
Yeah,
if you're
yeah.
all mad and angry about something and you go rant online about it, it's like you're going to feel differently after, because you blew off the steam, and then you're going to look at the post in like a year and be like, oh man, like
I was upset.
like I was really worked up about that Spider-Man movie. Like, damn.
I don't even give it 2 stars. I like Spider-Man.
Yeah. Oh man, it's crazy though. I don't think people recognize how much all of this stuff can affect you. It's like we're all on. They say people are on their phones like 6 hours a day, like between Facebook and YouTube and all of this stuff. And so it's just like your diet. What you eat is going to affect the way that you feel.
Yeah. You might as well make it work for you. Like if you're
Yeah,
gonna
make a
spend
meal
that
out of it.
time, you know what I mean? Like if you're inevitably gonna be on your phone. So make sure that every time you're on your phone, it's something worthwhile.
Yeah,
You're
that's
doing something
literally what I
worthwhile.
told myself when I was like having to lie down all the time because of this
Yeah.
pain. I was like, if I'm going to be on Instagram when I'm doing it, I'm changing my feed up to be only stuff that makes me feel good, because I already felt like crap. I'd come across posts about like tips for growing your Instagram page, or like tips for working out and stuff like that. And I think to myself like, oh, I would work out if I didn't feel like crap all the time and stuff. And it made me feel so crappy
Yeah, you
about
just
the
feel
fact that I was
worse.
unhealthy. And it's like, you can't do anything about it when you're in it, like if you're like, I don't, that doesn't exactly come out the way that I meant it, but like, when it's like you got to walk before you can run, and it's easy to see people running and be like, man, I suck. And it's like, no, like that thought will not make you start. And that's like the key. Like, yeah, that's just like what I was talking about earlier. Like, that's the biggest thing that you can do for yourself is like stop with the self-judgment and just be okay with who you are and just start moving forward from there, because that's like, it's like a weight off of your shoulders. Like, and that's the thing is, if you're criticizing the world, you're probably also being critical of yourself. And it's so hard to be happy when you have that block of just like everything sucks. And if the world would just align itself to my principles, then I'd be happy. And it's like, no, like it doesn't even work like that anyway, right? Like, you have to
Yeah.
be malleable. And that's like what I've been trying to do. Like, it's like in the 4 agreements, like nothing others do is because of you. So like, don't get worked up. Like, if somebody's all triggered about something that you shared, they probably have their own baggage, and maybe it's worth it for you to like to acknowledge that. Maybe it's not worth it. Maybe
Yeah.
that'll just upset you. But like, at
Just
the end of the
leave it.
day, as long as you can sleep at night, like
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
probably okay, right?
yeah. Then it's probably okay.
So that's the thing is, like, if you don't acknowledge that stuff that's driving you nuts, then you're never going to make any progress, right? Like, I did not want to quit smoking. I thought about it for a long time. Like, I need to quit. That's the only thing that's going to help. And I was like, oh, I don't want to. And I don't think I can handle it, like mentally. And,
Hmm.
and then I just did. I just quit cold turkey, and it sucked. I was like miserable, but I was already miserable anyway. Right. So I
Yeah,
figured,
yeah. So you're like,
I thought,
what?
screw it. I'll just power through. And I'm so glad I did. Like, I would not be able to monologue like this if I was smoking still. I'd be like, oh.
Just hacking up a lung.
Yeah, man.
Oh man, let's end it right there. We're coming up on an hour, so
Sounds good.
but like, yeah, that was amazing. I thank you so much for coming on. I'm sure everybody thoroughly enjoyed all of your life lessons. Once again,
Thanks for
follow
having me,
Phatriik.
man.
No, no problem. You're gonna come back on again whenever. We'll
Yeah,
have a new topic we'll go off of.
it's always good catching up.
Yeah, I know, definitely. Now that I'm in Ottawa too, we gotta do this to hang.
Totally. Yeah, it's the only way. You should get
Yeah.
Fortnite, actually. We could play.
Oh yeah, I should work on getting a better computer, and then I can switch to PC like you.
Yo, it's so sick, dude. And there's so many good deals on games on Steam.
Give Phatriik a follow on Twitch as well. I'm gonna link all this in the description, but yeah, go check out "Believe," the song that we did together. It's on my
Yeah.
SoundCloud. Yeah, super psyched on that shit. But other than that, thank you so much everybody for watching. Don't forget to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you on the next one.
See ya.